Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be referring to my notes today. So if you haven't got a pencil and paper, maybe now would be a great time to go and get a pencil and paper. It's also a great time to pour yourself a coffee. To those who have subscribed, thank you for your continual support. My channel would not survive without you. Today I want to talk to you guys about the power of the internet. Now, when you fall asleep with the air conditioning on, you end up with a cold, so you just have to bear with me. In my description box, I'm going to put a link to a video. It's about a gentleman who's taken an 18-foot FedEx van, 22 feet overall length, and converted it into a tiny home. Watch the video and watch what he says about YouTube videos. Also, his comment about the sink. That I will elaborate on right now. The gentleman's name is John. And what he says is, if you live in a tiny house, that doesn't mean you have tiny pots and pans. Your pots and pans are the same size as everybody else's. And if you have something like a bar sink, your pots and pans are not going to fit in there. That was an epiphany moment, because I learned that lesson many, many years ago and forgot about it. See, many years ago, I redesigned the kitchen in one of the houses that I've been in. I renovated 10, not all of them are my own. Designed 3 of my own. My dream home was supposed to be one of those. But you see, I bought one of these acrylic sinks. And I bought this island, and we had a 3-foot cabinet underneath it for sliding out for pots and pans. And they used this absolutely garbage wood that fell apart. But when it came to the sink, when we threw our housewarming party, I had cooked up a roast. I could not put the roasting pan in my brand new acrylic sink because it didn't fit. When I designed my dream home, I had what's known as a farmer's sink. Now, these things are about 34 inches long, 11 inches wide, and about 10 inches deep. They're big single cavity sinks. I can now fit a roasting pan in there. Well, I had one sitting in the house I was going to throw away because I hadn't planned on using it, for the simple reason of the fact that I was not originally designed to do what I'm doing now. That was an epiphany. So I went downstairs and I found my sink, and I took my measurements, and I took my countertop, which is just a piece of wood, and I simply recut it, and then I put a vinyl coating over top of that for waterproofing. The power of the internet. Had not John not made the statements he made, had I not been watching that video, I would have ended up shooting myself in the head, never mind a foot. That's the power of the internet. I also want us to have it today to talk about Andrew St. Pierre White. I also want to talk about Lee and Steffi Darling. You'll know them on YouTube as Grizzly and Bear. Both of these people I support on Patreon. These 3 people have turned my life around. I owe them a debt that I can never repay. I have about 100 different channels that I watch. And I'm broken down into 4-wheel drive, most of it Australia-based. I like Trail Mater, who's bouncing around in Moab, Utah. I have 3 or 4 people that I watch and subscribe to for cooking. I wanted to go to culinary school and I retired, but I couldn't afford it. But just because I can't afford it doesn't mean I have to serve my guests crappy meals. I really enjoy cooking. And then the other things I watch and support are animal rescue. I support Let's Adopt International out of Spain. I've been a member on his Patreon for several years now. And I also support DAR out of Greece. So those are the 4 people I support, but I watch them all off the net. The net has taught me a lot. Explorist Life. Nate has shown me the problems I had with my electrical system. You see, I was going to be using resettable breakers for the power coming off my solar panel before it gets to the MPPT charge controller. Those are illegal. I never would have known that if it wasn't for Nate. So yes, I've gone out and I've got the proper breakers. I have a video on that. Matter of fact, I've got a third now, so I've got 1 spare. Yay! Freely Roaming. They've been on the road for about 9 years. These guys are back at their home in California. But the heater for my battery box and heating my battery box and my batteries all come through him. I've had to modify his system for my needs because at the time he made his video, he had 1 lithium-ion battery and I had 2 200s, and I've done things slightly differently because my configuration and my application are different, but the idea is the same. His controllers, he cannot change if he finds that the probes are registering too high or too low. He can't recalibrate. My model is 1 number up from his, and I can actually calibrate my probes, which is why I have what I have. Javen Dovey, Alden Astasio. They teach me drone information, filming information. Andrew St. Pierre White is a videographer. That's what he does. I will probably take his photo course in videography because videography is not my strong point. I'm a stills photographer. I used to run my own studio. I started shooting film at the age of 8. My big film camera is my Hasselblad. I still have the Hasselblad. You can still get film for it. Digital is a new format for me. The internet has taught me how to get better. Dave Morrow Photography. He's an outdoors photographer based in Washington State, USA. He used to work for Boeing. Now all he does is take some wonderful outdoor shots. The things he's learned and been able to pass on. Use the internet as a tool. Use the internet to help make yourself better. Jailbreak Out Overland. It's Richie's channel. Richie turned me on to the Extreme Air Magnum compressor. He has the one that most Australians use, and he's had it fail on him. Other people have had the same problem. Well, everything breaks. I'm not going to say that the product isn't any good. What I'm saying is I find this one to be better. So I'm going to be buying an Extreme Air Magnum. Again, a source that came to me from watching YouTube videos. I live on the net. I watch videos every day. And more than one. Music, Bloom. I download him every single day. I'm trying to fill up a 2 terabyte hard drive with music, so I've got something to listen to. I have music playing all day long when I'm at home. One of the things that I'm taking on my build is my surround sound stereo system from here. And the amp is a Harman Kardon. It's 110. And I will pay the price in batteries and solar to run that because music is part of my world. In some of my videos, you've seen the back end of my Proton, but what you don't see in there is the Pioneer waterproof speakers that are sitting up on the back deck. Those are going to come out with me, and those I'm going to be able to hook outside so I can have music outside. They're not the greatest speakers in the world. They're not intended to be. They're intended to be a speaker you can throw behind the seats in a half-ton truck, and they can take a bit of a beating because they've got a plastic housing and they're waterproof. So if they get wet, it really won't matter all that much. But these are the sort of things that you have to learn from watching the internet. Diesel heaters. John MC47. He's Australian. He has a 16-part series on diesel heaters. I suggest that you watch all of his videos because he doesn't leave anything out. He's taught me a lot. As a mechanic, and as one who looks at things from where is it going to break, and am I going to have the parts available to fix it, which is my mantra that I've used in my professional life underground. I actually bought $200 worth of spare parts before I even bought the diesel heater. Most people don't have a spare fuel pump. I have two. If that diesel heater goes down, I'm in trouble. I also have gaskets, another glow plug, a spare hose for my exhaust because I've got copper pipe wrapped around mine, and that of course is wrapped up in an asbestos thermal blanket. We'll get into that when I start showing you how I install it. But just because you don't see a truck in the driveway doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. I haven't shown you the pile inside here. It's a bloody mess. Think of your kid's bedroom and then toss in a couple of boxes of hand grenades, and that's what my living room looks like. It's just stuff piled everywhere. But I have a limit from A to B and only so high. Everything has to fit between A and B or so high. And if it doesn't fit in there, it doesn't go. It doesn't matter if it's worth $10 or $10,000. If I can't take it with me, I've either got to destroy it, give it away, or sell it because it doesn't fit in the container. For me, building my truck isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Ronnie Dahl, four-wheeling Western Australia. He's taught me when and how to air my truck down. And then of course there's the legend, John Ruth. John Ruth is a legend in 4x4ing in Australia. I would not be surprised if babies coming out of women's wombs know who John Ruth is. He is that much of a legend. John Ruth will forget more in 15 minutes than you and I are ever going to learn about how four-wheel drive. He wrote the book. His air cleaner system that he has on his Toyota 40 series is the same thing I'm going to be using on mine. When I went down and picked up my Runva winch, my Runva winch came to me through an Australian crew called The Outfit, Chris and Angie. They run a Runva on both ends of their MOG. The gentleman that sells Runva is in the process of looking at buying a MOG and building a MOG out because they do Land Rovers. I was able to show him a few things that John Ruth taught me. The filter cloth in the inside the intake on your snorkel is extremely important. Why do you want to change a $50 or $60 filter when you can buy yourself a piece of filter cloth material and cut these little squares and stick them in behind the screen of your snorkel and keep your air clean? I got that idea from watching the internet because in Australia, I don't know if it's the Safari company, just about everybody buys Safari snorkels, but they sell a cover that goes over the top of the screen for their air filters. Well, instead of having mine on the outside where I can knock it off, I put mine on the inside where the two little screws hold the thing down. Now, if I have to come along and make an aluminum frame to go inside my snorkel and drill and tap it so I can use a bolt and secure that aluminum with Sikaflex or maybe even rivets, so be it. I've got technology to do it. No big deal. But it's an idea I picked up from the internet. And that's the power the internet has. If you use the internet for good and you learn to teach people how to do things, which is what I'm trying to do with my videos, we make the world a better place. And if you want some really good meals that are simple and easy to do, look up on YouTube Chef John Pierre. I do a lot of his stuff. And if you like some good old-fashioned down-home cooking, Whippoorwill Hollow, she's in Arkansas, or Bonita's Kitchen. Bonita is on the island of Newfoundland. All three of these people do some very simple meals that are very easy to make and are just bloody delicious. These are the lessons I've learned off the internet. Use the internet to grow. Use the internet to share. And let's make the world a better place for everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Good night.